Hey guys, this is Woody, and I wanted to talk about buying games. So I keep reading about the new consoles, right? Like information's leaking all over the place. And I know I've mentioned before in one other video that the games that you buy are no longer going to be like physical discs that you buy, that you keep, that you can resell, etc. Instead, you're going to download them, and it's going to be tied to your, in the case of the PS4, your PSN, right? And I assume it's either tied to your console or your gamer tag over on the Xbox world. And why they're doing this is a game developer feels like the used game market is taking from them. They feel like everyone that buys the game should be buying a copy from them instead of them buying a copy from you and I. Okay. Now, from a monetary standpoint, it doesn't bother me that much. You know, I'm in that minority that doesn't tend to resell their games. You know, I just put them in a drawer when I'm finished, mostly because the money's not there, right? Like when if you don't like a game and you buy it for $60, they buy it back from you if it's a good game for $15. If it's not, they will literally pay you like $1, $2, or $3. And then, you know, maybe not for the $3 games, but the typical GameStop marketing ploy here is they buy the game from you for like $15 and then they sell it back at $5 below retail. So you're not saving a lot of money when you buy a used game. You're really not. You know, those games that are incredibly old or whatever, from a monetary standpoint, it doesn't really hurt us that much. But there's something else going on, right? There's something else happening where it just doesn't quite feel fair. You know, you're buying a copy that can't be resold. You don't have the same rights that you used to have, and will that be compensated? Every time there's a new console, the games are more expensive than they were before. I don't think we're going to see cheaper games just because we've lost some right to those games that we used to have. Probably not. Instead, we're going to see more expensive games with fewer rights. Now, that's sort of painting a negative light on this thing, or putting a negative light on this thing. It makes it sound like the next generation of consoles completely screws you. But on the other hand, you know, what if that wasn't the case? What if it became a lot easier to lower prices? That's what they do in the Steam world, right? In the Steam world, when a game like Left 4 Dead, which released in November, right? When Left 4 Dead comes out and 3 months later they see that it's already kind of past its sales peak, they lower the price. They really do. Notably, too, like down to $40, down to $20. They really drop the price on a AAA title like Left 4 Dead. And if you're putting that thing on shelves, then it's so much harder to lower price. You can't get GameStop to make that thing cheaper. And you don't have that kind of price control, and it's a challenge for them. So maybe if the console world starts joining the Steam world, we'll see lower prices earlier in a game's life cycle than we do now. Heck, even today, like what is Black Ops selling for on the shelf? $50 instead of $60? You know, that game's a year and a half old. And they're still selling it for near full price. That doesn't necessarily have to happen when the companies have more control over the price. When a game developer can really just easily make this thing cheaper, maybe they will. And you say, oh no, Woody, you're crazy. You live in a fantasy land. Steam does it. They do. They really do. So maybe there'll be something in it for us to give up this right. Now, it's kind of a bummer that you can't just take the disc over to your buddy's house and play it there. That's gone. Maybe that will be back if you recover your gamer tag over at your buddy's house. I can't be sure. Is it console locked? Is it gamertag or PSN locked? We don't know yet. But I'm wondering how you guys feel about it. And I'm especially interested in our PC friends, right? There's a lot of PC guys who watch this channel too. And I wonder how they feel about the notion that consoles might soon be using the same, I guess, model, we'll call it, that Steam uses, whereas, you know, which means you download the games, it's kind of locked to your user ID, and that's the end of the story. Me personally, like I have one major downside. Like one of the things that I do, I'm in an odd spot as a YouTuber. I pay extra and get some of the big titles early. And I do that so that I can make better videos on release day, right? You know, I can't make them sooner. There's still like embargoes and such. But I can make them better. You know, if I get the game the same hour that you do, then I'm not really qualified to teach you much about that game. That's a problem for me. If I if I get the game after you do, right? Like maybe you're in England or something and you get it 6 hours in front of me, I'm not going to have any, midnight uploads. So for me, like it's important that I get the game early so that I can make good videos early in a game's life cycle, instead of it taking me whatever, like the 2 weeks to figure it out. And then, by the way, it's a higher bar. Things that that might be obvious to someone who's played the game 2 weeks aren't necessarily obvious to someone who's watching it the first hour the game came out. But if I learn it at the same pace as you, then it's so much harder for me to teach people about the game. So for me personally, this download business is a scary world, because I don't know if I'll be able to get the game early like I do now, which mostly happens just through paying a lot more than everybody else. I don't have any super connections. I don't have any way of getting the game in a way that you don't. I just go to eBay or talk to some guy who has access to a distributor and pay more and get the game early, and then honor the embargo thing that they do, which says that you can't upload it until they want you to upload it. On the bright side, the notion of scratched discs is gone, right? How many of you guys have bought the same game twice because the disc was damaged? That can be a thing of the past. It really can. How many of you guys, have bought the same game 3 times? If it was just re-downloadable for your gamer tag anywhere you wanted to go, that's kind of cool. And I think the PC guys like that a lot. They buy a new PC and then they can just reinstall whichever games they have the rights to as they move their Steam ID from one PC to the next. Pretty cool thing. Anyway, I'm just wondering what the console world thinks about this. I think the PC guys hated it when it first came out, and Steam was the boogeyman, and they all beat up on the guy. And then, they started to love it. And once Steam started offering some lower prices and started doing enticing sales on interesting games, then everyone started looking at it in a really positive light. So I'm curious, how do you guys feel about the way that they're going to distribute games over the next console? It's a whole new world. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like. If you enjoyed the video and you're new around here, then click on subscribe. Two videos you may have missed. The top one is an objective player's plea. It's a message that I hope makes its way to Treyarch in time for them to make a difference in the game. And the bottom one is kind of a spoof. I thought it was funny. It was about PC gaming and my adventures over there. Surprise video on the right. Links in the description to all sorts of interesting stuff. And have a good day.